What's up, everybody? This is Sean from Morning Lifter. I am here with a very special guest, a guy that we've probably been talking for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months now, and planning to meet at the Arnold, and then COVID happened. So it's been a conversation back and forth through Instagram. But I'm here with Zac Marrs, founder and inventor of the Marrs Bar. And we're going to have a really great conversation. I'm excited to have this talk tonight. So, Zac, I just kind of wanted to start things off, man, for people who maybe aren't familiar, because I found out about you just through Instagram. For people who maybe don't know what the Marrs Bar is, and kind of, your background, can you give us a little bit of, background into your fitness background and how you got started and the process there?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Sean. Like you said, it's been a long time coming. So, hey, we made it, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the bar, it has been just one big accident, one after another. Never meant for sale. I started a security company in 1995. I'm a police academy trainer. I teach a variety of tactics. I've always felt like officer presence is very important. Physical ability, his image, all that kind of thing. It helps with the job, reduces a lot of liability. And but I've also loved lifting. I've always wanted maybe it's the Conan days or whatever, but I always wanted to be a bodybuilder. And so we started a gym as well to help train our guys, keep their physical fitness up, do our classes here, all that kind of thing. And I always was a straight bar lifter, but I was getting to the point in 2003 where I just couldn't get my arms back to lock the bar in anymore. And I started cheating my form, and which, caused more injuries, which is what I was trying to avoid. And had access to hack squat, leg press, safety squat bars, pretty much everything you can ask for, I have access to and had access to, but they just seem like a distant second place to a straight bar squat. The results, the feeling, everything. But the damage that I was occurring, all the collateral damage from the straight bar, shoulders, wrists, elbows, it was almost like, 50-50. I was getting a lot of great results out of it, but I was also destroying my body. And I just didn't know how much longer I could go this way. My last ditch effort was I usually go to the Arnold as a guest, wanting to look. I get rejuvenated, and 3 days of very positive people being there, and I love it. And it gets me through the next year. And they always had the greatest stuff out there. And I thought, somebody's got to have something that's going to work for me. Somebody's much smarter, and they've already got it ready. No luck, and just gave up, and finally just took the bar to a welder. I had an old SSB that was laying around, and went to a welder friend, cut it up. He wasn't a welder, so he said, he wasn't a lifter, so he said, "You're going to have to tell me what you want." And of course, I didn't know really what I wanted, but he just beat on some pig iron. He would throw it into the tank, would throw some wet towels over the shoulder until sort of kind of got it where we wanted it. And that's basically where it came from. And, once again, this was never for mass production, sale, nothing. It was just simply a way to kind of cheat injuries and still, get the benefit out of the lift.
Sure.
That's kind of where the bar came from.
Now, did you have, was there a point in time where you suffered an injury that caused you to start looking at other bars, or was it just the progression of age and lifting and the toll on your body?
Yeah, it wasn't just one injury. It was just the progression. It's funny. It's like catch-22.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you want to be strong, and then you kind of get to that where you start, the muscle maturity, your form, everything's working, and you start to just really, increase your strength really fast. The flip side of that was my mobility was less and less, and I found that I was supporting 700 pounds on a straight bar with, 2 fingers like this, and I remember my spotter one time, I noticed he wasn't watching, he was watching up top, and I couldn't tell what he was looking at. And I said, "What are you looking at?" And he says, "Well, I'm just waiting for your wrist to snap. Basically, is what I'm waiting on." And I thought, well, that's crazy. There's days I can't squat because my wrist hurts so bad I can't write my name with a pencil. And I thought, what would happen if I could take out all the weak links and just focus on, my quads, my hams, my glutes, what would happen? And that was kind of where it all came from.
That's 2 fingers. Wow. I mean, that's, especially with that amount of weight, that's incredible.
Well, it's mostly stupid, but that's what you do when you've got no options.
Yeah. So you mentioned the different bars and the machines and everything else before, or I guess I could say, kind of explain to me, you mentioned about taking it to the welder. And so how did that work specifically? So was it, he breaks it down, pops it out, and you're testing it out in real time as he's bending it around? Can you explain that process?
Right. Yeah, it was, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but it wasn't scientific in any means whatsoever. It's like shoeing an old horse mostly. And I knew I wanted the bar in a low bar because I liked the feeling. It took the stress off my knees, and I knew I wanted a way to secure it without having to use the upper body. And the only thing I could think of was some sort of harness. And so what we did is basically he had some flat pig iron that he beat into an arch, and he welded it on, and we tried to make sure that the angle, which we didn't get right the first time. I was tinkering with this bar for years, trying to get it just right, because as soon as you think you've got it where you want it, you realize that, well, no, it's a little off.
Yeah.
And so it's been tinkered with for quite a while, and the one that's out available is nothing like the Frankenstein version that is in the back.
I think I saw a picture of that. I think you had posted it at one point in time, and it was very Frankenstein-ish.
Yeah, it looks more like a plow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny that everybody that used it in the gym, and once again, I didn't make it for anybody else but me, it's just very depressed. I thought, gosh, this is it for me. I guess my days of lifting heavy are over, and I'm going to be one of those old timers shuffling around the gym talking about the days when he used to, throw 700 pounds up, and, oh, hey, this is my friend, Big Keith Williams just came in. He's, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Keith? How are you?
How you doing?
I'm good, buddy.
How are you? Yeah, but Keith's here in the gym with us and coming to the Arnold and everything with us, Olympia. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, that's what Trey thought. But yeah, that's basically where it came from, was trying to get something close to the straight bar that mimicked the results of it, but didn't cost the body.
Yeah.
And that's, I see so many guys that, the volume of training year after year, and, the spirit is strong, but the body, it's got a limit.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I've read you've made some posts that have mimicked that, and that, the consistency about that, and you can really tell how much of your own passion and part of I mean, this bar, I mean, it's a part of you, because it's really designed for so many people. I mean, even like myself, I mean, I can't do really a straight bar squat anymore. It's just, and my injuries are from football. And I was an offensive lineman, and so doing that, and at the collegiate level, it takes a toll on you in the same way. And so it's having that, and having something like the Marrs bar. I mean, it's just incredible. And I remember the first time I saw it, I thought to myself, what the hell is this bar? And
Right.
and I saw people doing an incredible amount of weight, and I thought to myself, this thing is absolutely incredible. Because like you, I'm a low bar guy. I was a low bar guy when I was in college, and doing the high bar just never felt comfortable to me. And I thought when I bought the safety squat bar, I thought that was going to be my replacement. And I found out real quick, and this was early on when I had started, the morning lifting and the Morning Lifter website and everything else. I started looking at different bars, and I started with the safety squat bar thinking, okay, I'm not going to get the shoulder pain. I have a shoulder injury. I'm not going to get the wrist pain, but it's sitting right on top of my spine.
Yep.
And I can't get the hip activation that I wanted out of it. And so I ended up getting more knee pain. And so then I came across a Marrs bar, and I was like, this thing seems to have all the answers.
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful that I was able to actually finally get one.
No, I appreciate it, and I apologize for our beginning. It was kind of a train wreck because I've never produced anything, and we learned this the hard way. We're still learning the hard way,
Yeah.
as a matter of fact. But no, I appreciate everything you've done and said about your review. Was incredible. So detailed. I mean, I really I learn more about the bar every time somebody uses it, especially Keith over here,
My
John,
brother Stan Efferding.
the Efferding, Stan
Yes.
Efferding.
He's on the road right now. He was trying to hook it up. He's doing the vertical diet deal right now. He's trying to figure out a way to put it on the back of his RV before he left. He wanted to take it everywhere he went. He actually used that other bar that you guys were talking about. I think in Alabama, and he's like, man, you use the Marrs bar, and you get so spoiled.
Yeah.
From squatting. And I'm the same as you. I played in the NFL for 8 years, so my shoulders trying to use a straight bar, I can't put them back there. So this has changed my life as far as my bodybuilding career is concerned, because I can actually squat again versus being on the Smith machine squat and having to put my straps on there to put 500 or 600 pounds on my back. Now, if you watch the video that we have where my brother came here to train with us, 500-600 pounds on our back, and not even have to hold on to the bar.
Right.
And just focus on the squat. And I've fractured my back coming out of high school. So to be able to put this kind of pressure on my back with no pain the next day or after I squat is just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't foresee myself ever getting back into the 500 or 600. So it's that kind of that kind of thing is just incredible all itself. I was a guy for I was a guy for so long. Once I got into the regular hustle and bustle of real life, it was for me like I dropped almost 100 pounds when I was done playing football, and for me then it was all about just maintenance, because when you've been so heavy for so long, you kind of get afraid of, do you really want to start gaining that weight again? And for me, that's a big mental, I'm still dealing with it. And if you want to lift big, you got to eat big and everything else. And so, it was a struggle for me, but just the knee problems, and that was, I think, the big hindrance was I just never felt comfortable squatting. And then I had made a decision that I wanted to start getting stronger again. And that had been, I've been working on that for the last, 18 months or so. So this was 10 years of just maintenance, of just making sure that I'm doing enough to stay at a, at a good weight. But and the other thing, I didn't realize how young your company actually is. I mean, it's really, yeah. I mean, 2019 was really, you had said, I believe I had posted in the review, like that's really when you guys kind of made the scene.
Yeah, we were in the closet till then, and it's funny. The thing I thought was going to be the hardest part was the patent, and wow, that went lickety split. The hard part was finding somebody that would manufacture it, and nobody seemed to be interested. I ran into so many people. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know a guy. He owns a place. They do anything." I probably talked to 16 different places. Nobody is either too small potatoes, and they just didn't want to deal with it, or they just didn't want to deal with it. And I was like, man, are we ever going to get, I don't know if we're ever going to get this thing made.
Right.
And then even, once we did get it made, I was never like, I never thought, oh, this is it. Everybody's going to be so happy. We went to the Arnold, and I was so scared. And I was worried that we had our little booth and our little 10 by 10 booth. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I could, because like you said, it is personal. This was my bar for me. I never meant for anybody else to use it. I never meant for anybody else to even know about it. And now I'm going to open it up to the public, to the criticism. And I thought, I don't know if I can handle it.
Yeah.
And but it was a fantastic time. We got so many people were really, really nice. They really loved it. We got invited into the animal cage. That was unexpected. Louis Simmons, it's funny. He was calling me as we were walking into the animal cage, and I was already nervous as it is. And then my phone rings, and it's a friend from New Jersey, Henri Skiba's gym. And he says, Zach, Louis on, mind you, I didn't know who Louis was, because he just told me Louis wants to buy a bar. He never told me Louis who. And I'm like, well, okay. And I was like, well, Lou Frigno? I was like, I doubt he cares about the bar. But anyways, he said, that he's like, hey, Zach, Louis Simmons here. Love the bar. I want one. And I was like, you betcha, Mr. Simmons. I'll do my best get you one over. But no, it was a great time, and this whole thing has been everything about it's been unexpected. Met some great people. Keith here, Keith's wife Tina, Stan Everdeen, Steve Cardilio, Louis Simmons, Kenny Toth from Pennsylvania. Man, John Carlo. Boise, Idaho. I go on, and I've met so many fantastic people here through this bar yourself, and Charlie Rochelle in Pennsylvania. Try not to leave anybody out, but everybody has been so cool, and they've offered so much insight. It's been. I learn more about a bar every time somebody uses it. Louis was the one that he kind of perfected the whole good morning of it. And, I kind of thought, the bar could do some more things, but I didn't want to be one of those shake and bake guys that was like, oh yeah, it can do 100 different things. And I thought, man, that'll probably come off kind of cheap. And I just figured I'll let people see what they think about it and discover it on their own.
Yeah.
But
well, I think it serves the exact purpose that you built it for. Cool. And for so many, because there's so many other people out there that have the same issues that you have, that I have, that Keith has, that I think you have found, because let me back up. One of the things that I like, and the reason why I actually built this site, is because I love fitness, but I love to hear and talk about the stories and the leadership behind what we learn in the weight room and how that transfers to life itself. Because I think there's an ultimate correlation, because I'm a big believer that your best teacher is your own self and your own failures, and what you can, what you can learn from that. And so what I think you have found is you have found a niche that no one else has been able to find, and they talk about the best entrepreneurs. I always think of like Shark Tank. They have found some of the most productive and best entrepreneurs that have come out of that show have been the ones that have found a simple solution to a common problem. And I think that's
exactly.
Stand in the cooler.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I mean, that's such a, you sit there and you say, well, how come no one else thought of that? And it just blows your mind sometimes. And I think that's exactly what this bar does. Is it's a simple solution, though it's not always simple getting there. I mean, how many times, how many different prototypes did you end up going through?
Quite a few. It's funny, people have asked me, and we're trying to revise our website. So to everybody listening, I'll tell you, I apologize for our current website. We do have another one coming out that will be more detailed and will explain quite a bit more. I get a lot of the same questions, and there's nothing on that bar that is glamour or glitz. Everything on there is there for a purpose.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was tinkered with for quite over a decade. And first there was the low bar. Wanted to get it down. Wanted the moment arm to be a little below the traps, which would put the weight on your rear end or your glutes rather than your lower back. That was one of the things I hate about squatting is, there were days that my knees were on fire and my lower back was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, it just didn't seem worth it some days. Then there was, I wanted to be able to, one of the things that really drove me nuts was the mental prep for a big lift. And, there was, you had to kind of get in that zone. You had to put on your knee wraps. You had to pull up your little squat pants and get your belt just right and get your breathing, get your, and then you finally could lift the weight off the rack. And hopefully everything went right. There was no interruptions. You didn't like pull your heel back too far and have to stutter around. And just to do all that, just to do 1 or 2 reps, and then you rack it, and then you disrobe your armor and you start all over again. And the nice thing about this bar is, for the most part, it's about the same mental stress as jumping into a leg press.
Yep.
And as you get older, I have to say I've gotten lazier, so I don't have the. And with kids and a family, you can't spend 3-4 hours at the gym every day.
No.
Unless you want to, live at home. But that was one of the things. I moved the cambers too on the inside of the rack. It's funny. Right before we were trying to get some prototypes made, I had the cambers on the outside, like the safety squat and every other bar. And I had 805 on there, and I was getting ready for my reps, and I pushed it into position where I wanted it, and I wasn't concentrating, and I about ripped my left shoulder out of socket because I wasn't thinking about what I was doing. And I thought, man, that was stupid. I about took myself out of the game just trying to get ready. And I thought, what if the cambers were on the inside and the rack actually carried the weight rather than me having to push it into place.
Yeah.
So brought the cambers in, and basically that's another thing. You can roll if you ever load it up, it should roll pretty easy.
That's one of my favorite things, actually, prepping for a lift is the ease, not only of the ease of mount, but the ease of dismount, because it just rolls right off. It rolls in and then it rolls right off, and there isn't any concern. I mean, you rack the bar, it pretty much unracks for you. I mean, it's almost automatic, which is really, really cool.
Right.
So
a lot of series of accidents.
Yeah. So let's continue on that. So talk to me about the front squat. Did you have an idea that maybe you could front squat with this, or did that happen by accident?
Like me.
Okay.
You
Thanks.
too. Thanks a lot, Keith. I appreciate the time.
Hey,
Yeah, no
Keith.
problem.
See you, man. Hi, Kansas. I did, but once again, I kind of felt cheap saying you could do all this. Once again, it wasn't. Uh, I didn't do a lot of testing with the bar. I just kind of used it myself, and then a lot of my members here at our gym, they used it as well, and they loved it. But you know, some of the times I could tell they were just being nice to me, but they used it all the time. And I thought, well, that's great. You know, if somebody else gets something out of it, that's great. But yeah, I thought about it, but it was one of those things. I just I was so unconfident about. I didn't really even want to bring this thing to market. There was like a series of events that happened one after another, and it was almost like fate saying, you know, you should give it a shot. And you know, it honestly started at a friend of mine from college. We were always very competitive about our lifting, and I was at a birthday party of his, and he's in the fitness industry, and I showed him a video of me squatting 895 with the bar, and mostly to rub it in his face, you know, because he's such a good friend. And nobody cared about the weight. Everybody that was at that party was like, what's that bar? And I was like, oh, it's just something I slapped together. And but yeah, so basically, it just, I was never that confident in what it could do. And then to say that the front squat and everything was, oh, I don't know. I just wasn't, I kind of wanted people to discover things on their own. And I was hoping that I didn't want to tell them what it could do. I was hoping they would figure it out, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it does. I mean, because everybody comes up with different things at a different point in time. And like you've said, you find out more and more about what the bar can do just by people experimenting with it.
Right.
And
yeah.
I think, I mean, at least for me personally, especially with the shoulder injury, I could never do front squats. And the safety squat bar, I like what it can do for specific purposes. But again, trying to front squat with a safety squat bar, I feel like I'm getting choked out. And and having that padding, especially the padding right there up on your throat, can't do it with a straight bar. I can't bring my shoulder up all the way.
Right. The
and
shelf.
And even even the cross, I can't support it. So having something like the Marrs bar, having it just sit there, and it's almost like, well, what do you do with your hands now? It's like you've got all this freedom, and then you start to realize, wow, not only can I back squat with this, I can front squat with it, and I could do Hatfield front squats if I wanted to, or I mean, just the possibilities start to become multiplied. And that was one thing that I had mentioned when I was reviewing the bar. I thought to myself, like, geez, this is the best front squat I've ever had, just for the sake of having just for the sake of having the bar actually sit below your clavicles, and you're not getting the pressure, you're not getting choked out. I don't have to use straps on a straight bar. It sits there, my shoulders are supporting it, and all I have to do is, like you mentioned, all I got to do is focus on the squat. I don't have to focus on anything else.
Right.
So
I agree.
That's been, I think that was, however that was found out, I think is a real game changer, because it multiplies the benefits of, what you can do with it. So to kind of come back on building the bar, because I'm just really fascinated about how the whole thing came about. What would you say was the most difficult piece out of everything as you started building? What kept coming back saying, we're close, but we're not there. We're close, but we're not there.
It was probably the angle, the pitch of the the bar, it's funny, the bar, unless you're using it, the bar is a nightmare because it's constantly rolling around. And it getting the pitch just right every time. I mean, I didn't have this was 2003 and I'm not that computer literate. I'm kind of more hands-on, but it was trying to get the pitch of the weight to where the physics, I wanted it to lock in and to carry the weight, and getting that angle was really difficult. A lot of trial and error. And as soon as I thought I had it perfect, I'd get to a certain weight and I'd realize, nope, no, I missed it. And I'd have to kind of redo it. And so it was a lot of trial and error and trying to get it right where it was comfortable. And then once I did, it just blew me away how all my injuries that would creep up from time to time, they seemed to disappear. And like you said, I felt a lot more confident when I squatted. So I felt like I could get a little more aggressive with my training.
Mm.
And so it kind of a domino effect. Well, that's how it was for me anyway. The Frankenstein version, the harness was too wide, and because I didn't really measure it out, I kind of just slapped it on there, and so for a lot of folks, it didn't fit them just right, and so that was one of the things we changed on the current prototype. Is we brought the harness in, and we tried to make it fit more people better, and more comfortably.
It seems like I was going to say, it seems like that's the version that you have now. It's got more of a universal fit. It seems like for most people, it's right where it needs to be.
Well, that's good. See, and that was the thing. We tried when this was actually a thing, and this was going to, we were like, okay, we're actually going to do this. We thought about making an adjustable harness, and every concept we came up with, seemed to be, it's kind of like when you come up with a solution, you create 3 more problems.
Yeah.
And it was just, and it seemed like the best solution was to make the harness rock solid, but do it in a position where maybe it's one size fits most, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to, then we talked about a bunch of different sizes. I tried to make this bar as affordable as possible without getting inferior materials.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted people to fall in love with the bar as soon as they put it on their back. And I wanted them to feel what I felt. That was the whole thing. We had plenty of opportunities to go cheap. I had some influences that were saying, I know, Zach, I know that it could be better, but nobody else will. So just do it this way, and they'll be happy with it. And I'm like, yeah, but I won't. I won't be happy with it.
Right.
So those guys, I hate to say it, but I fought quite a bit for every trivial thing on that bar. There's some of the things you look at and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. It might have been a 3-week, trying to get that to happen.
Yeah. Well, when your name is on something and you toss it out there, it says a lot, and you can look at that with just about any company, whether it's, look at car companies like, Ford, Dodge Brothers, Chevrolet. I'm sure that, Henry Ford was one of the most known for detail and things like that. So it's
right.
That's no surprise, especially with, you've mentioned pouring your heart and soul into that. So can you talk to me a little bit about the passion that you had behind the bar? What was one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in the book, he talks a lot about a burning desire and how people can become successful. And I see a lot of that out of you. So can you talk to me about, what was that burning desire that finally made you decide, okay, I'm going to go for this and I'm going to give it a shot?
It was mostly just the people around me. Like I said, I just wasn't that confident about it, but the more people that I let try the prototypes, and they said they really enjoyed it, and it, you know, I have some friends that haven't squatted in almost a decade because they've got, you know, some sort of injury, you know, football, lifting, you name it, car wrecks.
I've seen some of those videos that you've posted, guys that have had like serious back injuries from car accidents, and there they are squatting.
Yeah, that was I'll tell you what, quick story, because it's one of my favorites. When we were at the Arnold, there was a gentleman there that was a lifter, and he had been in a terrible car accident. And he hadn't really lifted in, I think he said 13 years. But he said through rehab, he'd been getting a little closer. And but he said he still couldn't get a bar on his back. And so we didn't have any Hatfield handles at the Arnold. So what we did is we held his hands and put the bar on him, and so he could squat with it. And he burst out into tears, and then we started tearing up. So then you got all these grown men in this 10 by 10 cube, and we're all tearing up. They're probably like, what is going on in that place? But it was really cool. And that's what I told my business partner. My business partner is a friend from college. He's not a lifter. He's a mountain biker guy. And he was the one, for some reason, he wanted to get this thing going. And and I kind of told him, because he doesn't come from this background, I said, if you can give something back to somebody that's lost something that they love that keeps them happy and young, whether it be playing the piano, ice skating, weightlifting, if you can give that back to them, I can't think of a better gift, you know. And to see people's eyes light up, I mean, that's the thing. This thing wasn't set up as like, oh, a big money making, you know, we're going to be Fortune 500. None of that was ever. If you know me, here I am. I'll probably die in a t-shirt and shorts. That's how I roll. But that was never the target. Every time people say, and that's why anybody that tags me in a video, I'll put it on there. As long as I keep up, I try to keep up. But because nothing makes me happier. My kids would get so sick of it. I'd be like, get over here. This guy just hit 700 pounds. And they'd be like, Dad, we know, Dad, that's fine. But I would get so excited when people would send me, you know, they tag me on videos, and they tell me their story, and they're so happy. And I mean, it's seriously, it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. And giving back, and I could tell you, I mean, we talked before we opened this up. I mean, just my personal experiences and what I wrote about it in the review was, I mean, what it's done for me. Having the biggest thing for me was confidence. Was, wow, right. I can squat again, and I can squat with confidence, and I can sink my ass to the ground again. And I couldn't do that, you know. Right. Like I could not find a position where I could comfortably go all the way down. And once I got this bar, and I had seen, I think you had made a couple other posts and advice to people who had just gotten the bar. You said, like, there's a learning curve. It takes about 2 weeks, I think. And it, sure enough, it did. It took about 2 weeks to figure out the angle and the setup and everything else. But, and then it started to click. And as it started to click, I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is really, really cool. And it's just, it really has been, I mean, for myself, just an incredible experience of being able to be strong in the lower body and posterior chain again. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about it. And that's just wholeheartedly me saying that. It's just, you know, it's unbelievable what this bar does. So I can't say enough good things about it. So do you have like a personal vision or mission? You know, is there something, you know, is there a driving force? Is there a why that you have? You know, what's your why? You know, what is it that, you know, now that the bar is out there, it's really gained a lot of traction. What what is it that's keeping you going?
Honestly, just getting one to each lifter that wants one. I feel obligated to. We've done everything we can to make it affordable. We're trying to get it different shipping. That the shipping was kind of a pain, and we have no control over that. But the manufacturer's working on some new concepts. We've had so many people in Europe and Asia, Canada, New Zealand, Middle East that want them, and we haven't been able to perfect that yet, the distribution and all that, without making it really expensive. But we're hoping the distributors will get on board, and they have been. They have been. So they're doing a great job. They're just getting moving too. And hopefully these people will be able to get a bar. I mean, that's the thing I love about this is lifters are lifters. Like you said, you learn something in the gym. Mm-hmm. I mean, amen. I can't agree with you more. It teaches you so much, because we're all the same in the gym with all this stuff going on right now, trying to divide us. In the gym, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all working towards a purpose. We're all pushing each other. We're trying to make our weaknesses better. You know, and that's what I love about it. And so far, just like this, like we've never met. We've never been to a barbecue together. We don't work together, but it's like you run into somebody that's a lifter, and right away, you speak the same language.
Yeah.
You know, you got the same injuries. You've had the same, you know, hey, you know, how many times have you thrown up when you've been squatting? And you start talking about, you know, it's like we've all got this. It's really nice. And whether I'm talking to somebody, you know, in the UK or somebody in Arkansas, they're all the same people. And I enjoy it. And that's kind of my goal, is to get anybody that wants the bar. I want to make sure they have the ability to get it one way or another. I know how frustrating it is when you want to train and your body just won't let you train.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible purgatory, you know, trying to, you know, and of course lifters, we're all very good about jerry rigging things to make things happen. So
I've done that. Yeah. I've done that in my gym quite a bit, especially from the quarantine. I turned this place into a DIY Home Depot, it seemed like. I mean, I had wood contraptions and everything else, just because you got nothing else to do, and you just, like, I sit downstairs and I start looking around and I go, I bet if I do this, I can accomplish that. Like I built a reverse hyper in my power rack, you know, and then I built it actually turned out pretty well, which for about I think $50 until I can get a real one. But then I built a seal row. You know, it's just I think to myself, what can I do with the space that I have? And so it's really neat, just trying to figure out what can you do with what you have. And it makes that to me, it's almost like the challenge of, that's why I enjoy lifting so much too. It's the challenge of, what can I do differently this week?
Right.
That's gonna, you know, change the way my body responds, you know. And it's the never, you know, it's that never ending challenge of perfection, though, you know, you're never going to get there. So, but all right. So let me ask you this. All right. So through everything that you've gone through, there's been successes, there's been failures. Can you talk to me about what was the biggest or one of the biggest failures or setbacks that you've had during this process, especially getting it out to the market? What has been, you know, one of the biggest disappointments or failures that you've had, and what did you learn from it? How did you come back from it?
Oh, well, there's been a few. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, nobody starts out a champ, and that's the truth. we're still working on the shipping. I don't like that. I think it's way too high. That's something I'm not especially happy with. One thing Louis Simmons told me, and I've run into it, but the nice thing is people have retracted it once they've tried the bar. But Louis Simmons told me one time, and I'm going out to see him again on the 16th, and hopefully I'll learn some more stuff. But when I first met him, he said, he kind of pulled me aside and he said, look, Zach, you know how Louis is. He's, Zach, love the bar, genius, but here's what you're going to run into. He said, you're going to run into people that either they've got a lot of credibility or they've got a lot of degrees or something, and they're basically going to discount you without even trying the bar.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to run into a lot of arrogance. And so far I haven't. So, but I trust in Louis' opinion. So far, the people that have said negative things about the bar without trying it, have all retracted it once they have tried it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've been fortunate there. Most of what has been a really hard trial has been the manufacturing, because we're building a bar that's never existed. That was kind of frustrating for me, is people would say, well, it's a glorified SSB or yoke bar, which honestly would really get me steamed up, because I was like,
it's not anywhere near it.
Well, I appreciate that. I have all that stuff in my gym. Why would I waste my time building this thing if I already had one?
Right.
And personally, and nothing against SSB. This isn't me. For me, I don't like them. They push me forward. It sits on the base of my neck, hurts my lower back. I felt like the give and take of the SSB was like 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted something that was more like 80-20, or, something with a little better, ratio. And, but yeah, that used to steam me up pretty bad. And then there were guys that were like, and I swear to God, we had one quote unquote Mars bar on the planet, the legitimate prototype. We had one, and we took it to the Arnold. And when we posted with it, there were guys that were saying, oh yeah, I used that bar somewhere, I wasn't impressed. And I'm like, how did you use the bar? But and that's why it's got Mars bar across. I could care less what name's on it. The patent attorney was like, hey, we got to come up with a name for this thing for the patent. And I said, well, when I was a little kid, people would call me Mars bar. And they're like, that's perfect, let's use that. And I was like, all right, whatever, cool.
Yeah.
Because I never named it anything. I always just call it the squat thing in the gym. And but so we put Mars bar across the back just because so many people would say, oh, that's the transformer, or oh, that's something else.
Yeah.
And it was very hard because people were talking about it as if it's been around for years, and they were talking about the wrong bar.
Mm-hmm.
So that part was pretty frustrating, but it's been corrected over time, and I expected that coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
But I think those were the biggest. The manufacturing part of it was the hardest. The pads, like I said, nothing that you see on that bar was designed to go together. So it was all kind of, so many things were done to make everything fit together the right way. I wanted to make sure the pads were nice. A lot of trainers have said that a lot of their folks that hate squats, and I used to train people, God, I'm sorry, I'm having okay, there, it went away. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I was having a technical issue. But they said a lot of their folks, their clients that they train with, are actually squatting now because, once again, like you said, they feel confident under the bar, and it's comfortable. That was the biggest thing that I thought was a great thing. Was my wife was there with me, Jennifer, and she was filming everything. And what she would do is film while they were squatting, and the second they would rack the bar, she would turn the video off. And what she was missing was, as soon as they got out from under the bar, they burst out into laughter because it was so comfortable. And I said, why don't you just keep rolling? Because I want to get these people's expressions, you know. So when we get back to Kansas, we can kind of look at things and see, because things were moving so fast. It's kind of hard to keep track of everything. It's kind of like game films, you know. We wanted to watch the game films and get caught up. But yeah, that was it. But the manufacturing's coming around. It's just the first few months. Thank God this thing didn't take off from the get-go, because I don't think we were ready. So, but no, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. What are you seeing now? Because I think from our conversations in the past, it seemed like this bar was primarily in gyms, right? Whether it be small owned gyms,
right,
or you know, local, you know, commercial gyms. And
right.
now I'm starting to see this in the hands of more and more home gym, garage gym, basement gym owners such as myself. And there's quite a few other people out there with this bar.
Right.
Are you seeing, especially since we are still under this COVID pandemic, are you seeing more individual orders?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a toss up, because it is a specialty bar. And I know most people that were scrambling were just looking for a straight bar and a couple of 45s, and just something to maintain. And so I realized we're not the first thing people are going to pick out. I wouldn't, you know, I'd probably go with a straight bar and whatever I can use for weights.
Right.
But what we found is just getting it out to people. It's funny, there's a certain brand of lifter that they see something and they know right away they want it. And what we ran into with the big corporate gyms, and I'm again, I'm not sandbagging anybody, because I understand something new. I'm a cynic, so I completely understand. But what we ran into with a lot of the big corporate gyms is basically the managers loved it, the folks that went there loved it, but the folks that wrote the checks are like, you know, everybody's still paying their memberships with what we got in here. We really don't need any more new stuff. So that was kind of a hurdle. And then, but a lot of the garage gym lifters and the groups of guys in their sheds and wherever else they lift, they were the ones that seemed to recognize it. And it's kind of grown from there. You know, working its way. Now we've had colleges buying them for their football teams and their basketball teams. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's getting there. We've got pro guys using it. I've tried to keep their names out of it, because I don't want to, like, until they're ready to say something, I don't want to prostitute them out, you know?
Yeah.
But I figured if they want to, they will. So
sure.
I'll leave it up to them.
Well, I mean, I saw the one video with OBJ. Rocking the Mars bar, so that made me happy. Since I'm in Northeast Ohio, I know he's training the right way, so hopefully we don't have a bust for the Browns this year. But the Browns are the Browns at times, which is unfortunate, but there is hope at least. But I mean, that is I mean, that's really cool to see. You know, I mean, would you have ever expected in, you know, 18 months or so that much traction, you know, that much? I mean, it really is, the sky is really the limit. I mean, it only seems like you're just touching the surface.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's now that, I mean, I feel more and more confident that, and I by no means think it's perfect. And I've told people too, I've had people that have said, well, I think the handles are too long and they hit me in the thigh, or my forearms hit me in the thigh. And I told a gentleman the other day, I said, guys, when you buy this bar, customize it how you see fit. I wish I had my little toolbox close by, but what I tell the guys is the way we came up with the length of the harness is basically how high my arms would reach without my bicep area getting in the way. And so I tell people that if you don't want the handles this far, it's tube. If you go to the hardware store for $8, you can get a little tube cutter and basically put that on and take 2-3 inches off if you want to.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good hack to know for anybody that actually wants to buy that bar, because I have run into a couple people that have asked me about that, and to me it was just like it was more of a, I actually kind of like the fact that I'm bringing my elbows out, because to me it's more focused. I got to focus more on leg drive. And so I'm keeping, I want to try to keep upper body out of it as much as possible. Plus I don't want to rock the bar back. I want to keep the bar stable. So I guess for myself, that I actually like the fact that my elbows flare out, because now I got to focus all on hips and glutes and thighs.
Right. It's different for everybody. And that's the whole thing, is that, and I know everybody trains a little differently. I just tried to tell people, look, if there's something about the bar that you don't like, by all means, customize it or tell me about it, and we'll customize it for you. The most important thing about the bar is just the physics of the bar and getting your upper body out of it, which is what we were trying to do. The handles, I could care less how long the handles are. They could be all the way to the ground if you want them to be. But it's just one of those things that I just want it to work best for everybody. And the whole thing that we found, and I've had some very intelligent doctors, much smarter than myself, that have said not only does the harness, it stabilizes the spine, which they said the SSB and the straight bar do not. They actually put your spine in kind of a fragile position.
Yeah.
And so with that, once again, you're seeing people push more power because they feel stronger. And of course, you've seen all the videos with the folks with the bad backs that are, they're throwing up pretty good weight, and they hadn't for such a long time. I was going to do an interview with a gentleman. He's 54, retired police officer, hadn't squatted since he was 42. And I guess his son and daughter, they lived here in our gym, and they kept saying, Dad, you need to come down and try this bar out. And I talked to him, and he's squatting again, and he's squatting heavy. And it's funny. I always tell people that the videos and me, running off the mouth, talking about the bar, that's great and all, but the game changer is getting under the bar and throwing some weight on it. Then you'll feel how it impacts your spine. You'll feel how it impacts the rest of the body. And that's when people are a believer. So, and the biggest thing that always used to drive me nuts is I'd see people, and I know that's because that's how we were taught. They would grab the bar, and then they would put the back pad right at the very base of the neck. And like, no, that's not how it goes. Rock it back a little bit.
Yeah.
And because, we've been taught, that the bar has to be on the back of the neck, which is what the bar was completely set up to get away from.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's the stories. I think, like you said, the stories speak for themselves on how it's really improved just not only individual lives, but I think fitness in general. So I got a couple more questions here.
Sure.
I know we're running a little bit long, but
no problem.
a couple of things I always like to end, especially on the leadership side of this interview. Two big things I always like to know. Number one, do you have a favorite quote? Is there a go-to for you?
Oh my God, there's a few of them. I love Henry Rollins. I don't know if it's okay to cuss on this or not.
Go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. I love his quote, knowledge without mileage is bullshit.
Yeah.
I love that quote. I love that. I'll just leave it at that. I love that quote. The thing I love about Louis Simmons and Kenny Toth and Henri Skiba, these are lifters that they've traveled the road, and if they say something probably isn't going to work or is bad for you, probably know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to get. I'm an information junkie. I love to learn from people, whether it's police tactics or weightlifting. I'll soak it up wherever I can get it. And you'll never hear me go, you know what? I pretty much got this. I know it all.
Yeah.
I'll never say that.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite quotes. And there's one that I think Louis Simmons said, and I'm going to get it terrible, but he talked about the and I need to have it up here at the gym somewhere, but he talked about basically comparing the journey of weightlifting, like Moby Dick and Captain Ahab, that you're constantly chasing this thing that's it's basically going to drag you down to the bottom of the sea. And that's kind of how I thought about injuries, is that, you know, we want to be strong, we want to push ourselves, but a lot of times our spirit is stronger than our bodies, and we end up wrecking ourselves chasing that dream. And so kind of my goal with the bar was just trying to figure out a way to get a little closer to that without having to pay the ultimate cost of, you know, I don't know, using a walker when I'm 60, trying to get around, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That I like the quote and totally understand the analogy. It's like getting almost, I think of like Pinocchio getting swallowed up in the belly of the whale, and you getting sucked down. And now I'm getting into some weirder stuff, but I understand the analogy. So how about you got a favorite book or a podcast that you've been on to lately, something that you would recommend?
Man, oh gosh, my God, there's one that I haven't finished it, but I need to make sure I get this right. But it's Wayne Dwyer. It's the Power of Intention.
Yes, I know Wayne Dwyer. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
but
big fan.
I haven't gotten through it all the way, but very impressed.
He has. I've listened to quite a few of his speeches, and when I work out in the mornings, and he's got some really good stuff. So I'll have to. Yeah. I'll put a link to that in the video as well, so anybody wants to pick that up. So
cool.
I've got two more questions here, just because I'm all about, especially with my website, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to link together strength and leadership. So what I want to do is give me either a one word or a quick phrase for each here. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear strength?
God, it'd probably be dedication. Probably dedication. Nobody's, I mean, once again, not to get too, warm and fuzzy, but the gym, it's like nobody's born strong. I know some people are genetically gifted, but God, the gym is such a good equalizer. God, I think there's another one by Louis that said, too heavy is a myth, but not strong enough is real. And I thought, amen.
That's
like
good.
My kids have seen me squat 800 pounds repeatedly. And the reason I like them to see that, they're not impressed, by the way. Okay. But
why would they be? Right?
Yeah, they're like, whatever. That's nice, Dad. Yeah. And but the thing of it is if somebody ever tells them, like when I was a kid, if somebody ever tells them that that's impossible, my kids will go, whatever, he does it twice a week, And that's what I want. I want my kids, and anybody. I don't want there to ever be limits. Like, and by limits, people put limits on each other, and oh, that's just too heavy, that's too much, that's too big, you shouldn't look like. I think everybody needs to do what makes them happy, and you should never say, well, you know what, this is probably as good as it's going to get for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a terrible thing to tell people, you know. But anyways, that yeah, that's another one of my favorite quotes. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so how about leadership? First thing or first phrase that comes to mind?
Oh, wow. Man, that's a tough one. There's a lot of them out there.
That's been one that I've gotten. You're the second one that I've gotten with that one. It is. It's so hard.
Yeah, you caught me. There's so many different people that. Man, God, that is a tough one. Narrowing it down to one. I mean, I could even talk about oh God, great football coaches. Those are some of the best ones I've heard. Is that's one of the things. I mean, you played football as well. I mean, gosh, I learned so much. I mean, it's funny. Your football coach is almost like your surrogate father.
Yes, yeah. I still talk to my high school coach.
Right.
He's been at our high school for over 25 years.
Wow.
And so it's something that, and I coached high school football for 10 years too. So it's something that I actually had a former player from the very first high school I coached at actually reached out to me, and we talked about leadership and, you know, his transition into life and figuring out where he wants to go and everything else. And it's in a way, because I've done nothing but really think about this kind of stuff I mean, it's always on my brain for the last pretty much almost 2 years now. And I've come to one conclusion, mainly from John Maxwell, who talks about it, but he puts it very plainly that leadership is influence. And I see that, like, I heard that and I just thought, well, that's just everywhere.
Right.
But it's the right kind of influence, the influence that makes you want to do the right things and puts you in place when you need to be put in place. And it's
right.
You know, and I'm sure you see it every day, you know, anytime that you're doing police training. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all kinds of leaders in different fields in different ways. And I think especially what you're doing right now, you're leading a new just a new chapter in your own life, but you're doing it the right way. I mean, it's just how willing and open you are to not only talk about it, but take the time to talk about it. And you're being very diligent. And, you know, that's what a leader is. And you see all the time about, you know, whether some big companies ever get back to people, you know, and I mean, you're dug in the trenches just like everybody else. And I think that is something that is, I know I'm very appreciative of that. You know, just having the opportunity to talk with you tonight has been really fun. And
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I agree completely.
I mean, it's like you said, you know, even though we've never formally met, I mean, I think it's been an easy conversation to have because there's so much in common just from the act of lifting and getting better in the gym and finding ways to get stronger and to stay strong.
Right. So I agree. I always joke with my wife, but she asked me about my training, and I said, I've always got that little invisible football coach in my head that's like, you can do better than that.
Yeah.
Is that your best?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I tell her sometimes some of the what's going on in my head. I said, it's just the constant, you know, little old man with, you know, funny shorts on yelling at me nonstop.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. This has been a very enjoyable and entertaining talk with you, Zach. I appreciate it. So before we close up, for whoever is listening out there, tell everybody how they can go get the bar.
Yeah, right now, if you just go to Marrs Bar, I better check this, marsbar.com, and there is a hyphen between Mars and Bar. That's our current website. We are making a better one. It's going to be 100 times better. That's just kind of what we started with. But yeah, marsbar.com. Check our Instagram out. There's a lot of good stories on there. It's just underscore Mars, 2 R's, and then underscore bar. We have Facebook too, but I guess that's just for old people. Nobody listens to Facebook anymore, but as my kids tell me. But yeah, whatever, one of those will help you out.
Great. And anybody that has got questions, reach out to me, reach out to Zac. If you're on Instagram, there's a lot of people that have had experience with the bar. It's my opinion, and I'm no expert, but I think it's the best specialty bar out there. I really, truly believe that, because if you don't have lower body strength, this is a bar not to, this gives you an excuse not to skip leg day, and so you won't be skipping leg day with a bar like this ever again. So it's, and for me at least, it's a bar I look forward to using, and I've been really, really enjoyed it since I got it. Geez, I think I've had it since mid-March ish, I think. So, and it's a complete game changer, absolute game changer. So
I'm glad.
So, I appreciate the time, Zac. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we'll be in touch again. Maybe we can do a follow-up, and maybe we can do something for the Arnold going into next year.
Exactly.
And you got plans? You going to have a bigger booth this time?
Yeah, we're doing the bigger one. We're kind of sitting on top of each other in the other one, but yeah, we have a 10 by 20 this time.
Okay.
And we're going to be across from the animal cage. We'll have pros Keith and Tina Williams there, and if Lori Slayer will come down with us, she's going to come down as well. And yeah, I joked with everybody saying we need to get together and have a Instagram barbecue somewhere, and get together and tell some lies or something.
Yeah.
But
well, you said you're coming to Columbus, so I'm about 2 hours from you. So you let me know when you're around. Maybe we can hook up.
Yeah, I'll be there the 16th through the 19th. I guess Louis sticks everybody in the Red Roof Inn, so I'll be at the Red Roof Inn. So I just post for them.
There you go. All right, man.
Cool. Sounds great, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zac. Thanks for the time, man. And we'll be in touch at some point, and keep doing a hell of a job, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. Thank you.